Hey, and welcome back. I'm here today with Adrienne, and she's going to talk about the challenges of being a first responder and what she's doing about it. Hi, Adrienne.
Hi, Chelsea. So good to see you.
Good to see you too. So, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell me what we're here for?
My name's Adrienne, and I used to be an EMT and a transfer center coordinator. So, kind of like a dispatcher, like a 911 for hospitals. And I worked 12-hour shifts. They were night shifts, and that took a huge toll on me personally. I was always on call, I was missing family time, and just felt really alone a lot. And I knew that that wasn't normal. We'll get into the long story later, but long story short, when I adopted Maisie, I knew that she'd be a good therapy dog because she liked to hang out with people. And I knew at some point I wanted to do some sort of therapy dog work. And she really fit in perfectly with what I'm doing now with first responder therapy dogs. Volunteering with her to go visit first responders so that they don't feel like how I felt.
Tell me a little bit about that lonely feeling that you were having, why you think you were having it, what were the contributing factors, and how it led to your work with Maisie.
So I was working 12-hour shifts at night on weekends. And my now husband, we were dating at the time. He has 3 boys, and our time together that we had was weekends. So we never spent any time together really. We just couldn't. I was at work. So I would sleep during the day. I'd see him in passing, and that lasted for like 2 years. It was really lonely. I'd sleep during the day and go to work at night, and he'd be at home, and we'd miss out on all that family time. I missed out on the boys growing up a lot too. And that was really hard also, just the mixed dynamic of like a step family and missing out on friends and my family stuff. It was really difficult to be, at work at night, sitting in my little corner by myself, taking care of patients over the phone. It was a hard job. I would constantly be ringing, and I feel like nobody really understood what I was going through. I didn't really know how to explain it. I didn't want to burden anybody either with my feelings, so I just kind of kept it inside, and that wasn't very healthy. As you know, it's not. You have to talk about it with people. Thankfully, I was able to find something else to do. But for those 2 years, and even when I was an EMT, there was some really rough calls that we would go on. Even though they were transfer patients, I would see people who were really, really sick and nothing I could do to fix them. And we didn't talk about those calls either. So that was really tough to just like, oh, here's this patient with ALS who you're dropping off at their house with their family and they're going to die in 2 weeks, but go on and do your next call. Have fun.
Thank you next is not the way to go in EMS. No, not at all.
No, it's not. I remember crying back on the way back to the hospital, just thinking about that guy and his daughters and how awful that was. And next call, next discharge from the ER. It sucked.
I don't know how people do it now, even being able to talk about it more, and it's like more acceptable to stop for a second and like talk about what just happened.
So you don't talk about it because then you seem like you're weak. Like, oh, why are you doing this job if you can't handle it? Well, I'm a human, and those are different emotions that I've never experienced before because I don't have anybody in my family with ALS. I don't know how it feels when you drop someone off at their home for hospice because I had never done that before. And you have all these feelings, and you don't know what to do with them. You have no one to talk to about it, and you just go along with the next thing, and then the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And some people I've heard they call it their backpack with their rocks in it, big backpack with rocks in it, and it gets really heavy.
So what did you ultimately do? Did you ever unpack the backpack?
Not with a professional, no. I probably should unpack my backpack, but what's helping me in the meantime is volunteering with Maisie to help other people unpack their backpacks. Now I work with elementary school kids, and it's chaotic and crazy, but it's not traumatic usually. So I think with time, the rocks have gotten smaller. My work with Maisie, volunteering with her to visit first responders, has definitely helped.
So talk to me about when you were a dispatcher, because obviously I'm going to geek out about that. My
Yeah.
husband's been in emergency dispatch for a very long time. You were working night shift and they were 12-hour shifts.
Yeah, they were 12-hour shifts. It was 6 PM to 6 AM. And a lot of times I would get held over because somebody was late. So it turned into like 13-hour shifts. And where I worked, it was like an hour away. So I would get home at like 7:30, sometimes 8 o'clock in the morning, depending on traffic. with the sun in my face and then try to go to sleep from like 9 a.m. until like 3. But then the boys would come home in the middle of the afternoon because, that's normal life. And you're trying to sleep through it. So I would get sleep from like 9 a.m. really, honestly, until like 2 p.m. I would work 3 days on with an on call shift the day before, and then I'd have a day off, and then I would be on call and then have 4 days on. I only had like 2 or 3, maybe 4 days off a month after working 12s, and they were all weekends. So I never got to do anything fun. Like I'd see all these fun things happening, and I'm like, oh, that'd be fun to go to, but I can't find anyone to cover my shift. So I'll just be at work.
Did you have a partner at night or was it just you?
When I first started, it was me and one other person, and then there was like 4 of us on at a time.
So you had other people that you were interacting with. Do you think that that was helpful?
Sometimes it just depended on who I was working with. Some people wanted to talk about stuff, and other people were so serious into their work and they didn't want to talk about it.
I've heard this floated around in dispatch now for a while. Do you think it would have been helpful if you had a critical incident stress manager that could come in and debrief after a tough call and they were immediately available to where it was almost built into the system that it just happened? You know, they just were on the floor and they're like, let's talk about it.
I mean, it's easier to talk about it right after it happens because those feelings are still fresh. You won't have to think about how you felt. You're already feeling it. So I think that would be easier to implement, and it would be beneficial for our dispatchers.
Do you think the 4 days on could have been mitigated by a rotating schedule? So, like, if you were going 4 days on and then it rotated to where you weren't working the weekend after 2 weeks?
I think that would have been better. I had a similar shift when I worked as an EMT. It wasn't rotating. We had assigned days. So I had a 24-hour shift and then I had 2 12s. The 24-hour shift was actually easier than working a bunch of 12s in a row. But I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to be a 24-hour dispatcher. I think that would be horrible.
You couldn't do 24-hour
You can't do
dispatch.
24 hours. I know that dispatchers for South Lake Tahoe PD, they work really, really long shifts and they're very short staffed and they need more people to work for them.
I think that that's a major problem in dispatch in general is that it's very short staffed right now. It's a national problem. I've
Yeah,
heard it from you, I've heard it from our own agency. It's an epidemic proportion of understaffing.
it's really bad.
So would you say that understaffing contributes to the overall problem of not feeling like you're supported, feeling lonely?
When you're working and the phone's constantly ringing and you are on the phone with somebody else handling their emergency and the phone's ringing and there's no one else to answer it because they're also on the phone, it's really chaotic in your brain. You're like, I can't handle this. This is way overwhelming. But you can't do that at work because you're there to help. And then after your shift, you're just like, wow, that was really horrible.
And then you try to go home and sleep and you can't sleep.
No, you can't sleep and you want to play with your kids and whatever, and you can't because you're just a horrible, grumpy monster shell of yourself.
I don't know how my husband felt about it, but when he was a comm op, he was working 12-hour shifts. He had an hour-long drive to home. So if he was coming home, which sometimes he stayed there, I had toddlers. So our house is chaotic already. And now you're coming home to this chaotic environment where you're supposed to be able to sleep. He liked night shift. It was just the sleep schedule, and he was tired all the time. Like,
Oh, I bet.
tired all the time, but he loved his job. So he kept doing it. Eventually he wasn't on night shift anymore, and
Yeah.
eventually he went back to the field.
You're dealing with people's emergencies and it's constant. That's your job is to answer 911. You are 911. You're answering every phone call that comes in. You're dispatching out firefighters. And then I feel like one of the hardest parts for them is not knowing what happened. You get dispatched to these really horrific, tragic calls and you're hoping for a good outcome, but you may never know what happened.
Yeah. Closing the loop, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
At the point that they reach the hospital and they're in the doctor's hands, I
Yeah.
did my job. So closing the loop, I think, is really seriously important. And it's something that I don't think a lot of dispatchers think to do, but you absolutely can do it.
Yeah. We would get calls of patients that were in the ER at North Bay, and we'd have to find someone to take them and transfer them out somewhere else. And in transport, they would not make it, or they'd get to the other ER, and then we would never find out what happened after that. Did that stroke patient make it? Who knows? You know, but
Yeah.
you get this frantic call from someone in the emergency room in a different hospital, and they're giving you all this patient info, and it's kids, it's parents, it's people, and you don't know who they are, but it's still important. And you're like, okay, I got to save this person over the phone, trying to find somewhere else for them to go and arrange transport. And that was really difficult, not knowing what happened to a lot of people, or hearing shortly after you tried really hard that they didn't make it. But that wasn't my fault. I had nothing to do with the fact that they died, but I still felt emotion from that.
And at the time that you were doing it, that probably was really frowned upon, like, don't feel anything you're not allowed to feel.
Disconnect yourself from that as much as you can, like, but then you become a robot. And in your personal life, you're disconnected from so many things too. How do you turn it on and off?
That's a really good question. I don't think you do. I was just having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were like, first responders love deeply, and there's no way to shut that off. They love deeply in their work, they love deeply in their relationships, they love humanity, and you can't shut that off when you go from work to home and home to work. It's just who you are.
Yeah. Shut it off, then you're not who you really are, and then you're just become a shell of yourself. And I could see that happening to myself. I was a monster. I was so grumpy all the time. I'm like the nicest person. I love everybody, but I would snap.
Let's talk about Maisie and why you felt compelled to do what you do with Maisie now.
So when we adopted Maisie in 2019, she's a rescue. We would take her to the park and she'd sit with people. She'd sit on their feet. She'd just sit with them. And I'm like, why are you sitting with people? We're at the park. Go play with dogs. She's like, I don't want to play with dogs, Mom. I want to sit with people.
Let's back up a second because I want to make sure everybody knows who Maisie is.
Oh,
Maisie
Maisie's a
is
therapy dog.
she's a therapy dog. What kind of dog is she?
She's a Kelpie cattle dog mix.
And she is amazing. I met her in person. I had the honor of meeting the famous Maisie. She's very, very sweet.
Come here. Come here. There's Maisie. There she
Hi.
is.
Hi, Maisie. She's like, what are we doing, Mom?
This is my nap time.
This is weird.
Leave me alone. Why are you talking to a screen?
Oh, and there's Tanner. I
Where's
see
my
Tanner's
buddy?
tail now.
Oh, there's my guy.
Okay, so she was sitting at people's feet in the park.
She'd sit with people and just want to be with them. And I'm like, wow, she really likes people. And she'd just sit and be really calm. And some lady asked me one time, she's like, is she a therapy dog? And I'm like, no, but I guess she could be if you think that she is. So we went through basic obedience training to get her canine good citizen, which is a requirement for therapy dogs. And then I found first responder therapy dogs on Instagram. And then it was a little bit of time in between when they were actually certifying their own dogs. But I did all the online training and stuff to kind of prep me for what I needed to do to be a therapy dog handler. So when I started volunteering with first responder therapy dogs, I had a better understanding of what was expected of me as a therapy dog handler, as far as looking at her and her behavior to see if she's comfortable with where we're at and stuff. So that was really helpful.
So tell me a little bit about first responder therapy dogs, like your experience with them, and then also what they kind of do, where they go, who they serve.
So first responder therapy dogs was started in 2021 with Heidi Carmen out in San Rafael and her dog Kareth. We visit first responders at base camps, dispatchers, fire departments, police stations, community events. Anyone who requests a visit, we can come out to them. Amazing. I go to pediatric urgent care, all kinds of things. People go to schools, anywhere that requests a visit and there's a dog around, we can go. And it's really rewarding. We see a difference for sure when we show up. People are like, oh, there's a dog here for us. So yeah, this is for you. This is just for you. This is your special thing. And most of our handlers are either former first responders, current first responders, or have a family member that's a first responder. So we, for the most part, understand what we're walking into and why it's important.
Yeah. I got to meet Kareth and I got to
You're
meet
so
Maisie.
lucky.
It was so cool. Okay. I did not expect to meet Kareth. They went to base camp at a fire where my husband worked at the time, and I just happened to be in the command center, and in walks Kareth. Okay.
Yes.
And the whole room just went, there's a dog here. And the happiness that happened, and these guys had been on duty for days. I mean, it was probably like 14 days at this dispatch center. Nobody had gone home.
Yeah.
And it was just they needed a moment, and Kareth walked in, it was like the whole room changed. It was so cool. Yes, I feel like I met a celebrity when I met Kareth by
She is a
mistake.
celebrity. She's the
She
OG. You're so
she
lucky I still haven't met her yet.
oh, you gotta get to go meet her. Like,
I know.
she she's so cool. So cool. So this was the first time that I had seen it in practice. Obviously, I like follow you guys all on social media and I've seen reels and different things, but it was the first time that I was in the room when the first responders were getting to interact with her. And it was really, really cool. And I also got to talk to her handlers, obviously, because they were there. So that was really neat too.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm here to say, like, it does actually work. It was like the whole morale just kind of went up a little bit, and they were then able to move into the next thing that they had to do, and you could just tell that they were just a little bit happier, at least in that moment. I was there to see it, and we've had that experience. I've brought my dogs to the dispatch center, and they're not trained by any means, but, like, when a dog runs into your dispatch center, you're like, "Oh my god, there's a dog here!" So,
It makes a huge difference.
it does.
We've been to NORCOM like over 30 times, and even though we've been there for so many times, it's still special every time we show up. We still let them know that we're coming, but not everybody knows that we're coming. They don't make an announcement, "Maisie's coming today." They try to keep it a surprise for the dispatchers, unless I'm talking to one that knows that we're coming, and then, you know, they know we're coming. But they still get excited that we show up. They're like, "Oh, yay, you're here." And
Yeah.
they just love Maisie. You know, it's her home away from home now. She gets so spoiled there. She gets food from and stuff. They'll ask me though, "Can I make her a little tuna thing?" And I'm like, "If you want to, if that's what makes you happy, sure, go ahead. I'm fine with that. If that's the kind of therapy that works for you is giving her a treat and it makes you feel good, sure. She can have some tuna or whatever." One of them saves a Ritz cracker for her. He's all, "I saved this for you because I knew you were coming."
Well, that's so sweet. It's so cool to see, though.
Yeah.
I've had it where, like, I bring my kit. There was one fire that seemed like it was never going to end. My husband was working at the air base at the time, and so he just got stuck on duty for forever. But for some reason, I think I had a friend whose kids needed to be dropped off with their parent or something, and they were afraid to make the drive over to the airbase in Ukiah. My husband wasn't there. He had gone somewhere else. And so we stopped at the airbase, and incident command was there, the incident command team, and then a bunch of firefighters from somewhere else. I can't even remember now where, but we ended up going inside, and my kids were with me, and a couple of the people that worked at the airbase recognized them. They're like, "Oh, come on in, grab a water, like, whatever." And they were interacting with the firefighters, and the firefighters were like, "It was so nice that you brought your kids. I haven't seen my kids in like 10 days, and I'm missing them a
Oh,
lot.
wow.
And this is going to get me through the next 10 days. Like, thank you so much for bringing your kids." So imagine what that's like with a dog. Everybody loves a
Yeah.
dog. Everybody wants to pet a dog. So anyway, I think everybody wants to pet a dog. It brings that the spirits way high,
Yeah.
at least in the moment that they're there, and it's something that they can hold on to for just a little bit longer to get them through whatever that incident is.
Yeah.
So I've seen it in practice. It's really cool.
We went to the Crozier Fire Base Camp, last year up in Placerville, and we met a Cal Guard. He'd been gone from home for, like, 2 months. I'm like, "Are you serious?" It's like, "I haven't seen my kids in 2 months. I'm gonna take a selfie with your dog and show it to my kids." So I gave him some extra stickers. I can imagine being away from home for 2 months and not seeing my family and just being so far away and being in smoky, dangerous, hot, horrible conditions for that long.
Even in camp, because a lot of times when it's too smoky, the helicopters can't go up. So if it's Calgar helicopter, he's stuck there, sitting there.
I just felt so bad for that guy and his family, like, 2 months.
But, a wildfire, you don't know that you're gonna be stuck there for that long
No,
necessarily.
stuck on one and then you roll off to the next one.
Right, right. Yeah. So that's a huge shock to that guy's family, to him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, when's
Yeah.
when's dad coming home? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are tough conversations too. I've had them. I don't know. Don't know when he's coming home. It's hard to, be the child in that situation hearing, "I don't know when your dad's coming home." Like, "Cool, mom, thanks."
I feel bad for the kids too. Both of my neighbors on both sides of us are the dads are firefighters. During fire season, I know when one of them's gone because his truck's gone for longer. I'm like, "Oh, did he get stuck on XYZ?" And she's like, "Yeah, he's gone or overtime at the station." And last summer, he was gone for like 2 weeks, and that's different because sometimes he's been gone for like a week or whatever, but he was gone for so long, and then he got called out too for the Palisades fire. So he was gone in January, which is weird for everybody. I was like, "Is there anything I can do? Can I visit families with Maisie?" I wanted to help out for the families, but I didn't know what to do. Like, can I buy you groceries? Like, do something different for you so that you're not, struggling so hard? Because January is when a lot of them plan vacations, or they're usually there, so it's not weird.
I was literally packing my bags to go on a vacation with my husband the week that that fire was happening, like, and
Ugh.
he was stuck on duty until the day that we left. Like, and he had the opportunity to come home for like 12 hours or something. It was crazy. He
Yeah,
ended up going home because we had a hole in our fence. And I'm like, I don't know how to fix a hole in a fence. And our dog was getting out. And I'm
yeah.
like, we need to do something about this. So do you want me to hire some? He's like, no, I'll come home. So he came home for literally like 12 hours and went back to work. And he has a 4.5 hour drive. So like he
Ugh.
fixed the fence, he went back to work. And then 3 or 4 days later, we left on vacation. It was chaos. And he was just in dispatch. Like, this is how drawn down our state was from the Palisades at the time. Like,
Yeah, that was really awful.
it was shocking for that time. That was a tough time. Tough time.
Yeah.
I think my Christmas tree stayed up until after we got back. Like, I had my Christmas tree up almost till February.
Oh, wow.
'Cause I'm like, "I'm not doing it."
Yeah. I mean, it threw everybody off for so long, and they weren't done in January. There was still, like, mop up and cleanup and
Mhm.
stuff to do, so even though they came home, other people were deployed out,
Yeah. It went on for a
and
really long time, a really long time.
then when they're deployed out, someone has to be back at station to cover for overtime, so even though, your husband or whoever may not be down in SoCal, they're at the station until the other crew gets back, and that sucks too for the people at
I think
station.
that for the people stuck at the stations, it actually sucks more because they are having the fear of missing out,
Yeah,
right?
they do have FOMO. We went to Tahoe Douglas Fire, and there was a guy on there, and he was on day 5 of 9, and he's like, "Ah, I wish I coulda gone." And I'm like, "But you're here for 9 days, that sucks."
Yep, and my husband actually calls it Groundhog Day because it's like you're constantly rotating on and off your shift, right? So you're on for your 24 hours or whatever, and then you're on for your next 24 hours and your next 24 hours and your next 24 hours, and it just continues the same way. Like, you're
Yeah,
doing the same thing over and over and over again while you know that there's something else going on that you didn't get to go to, and especially after, I mean, 9 days is a long time, relatively speaking, but my husband's work, it's unending,
yeah.
right? Like, it could be 21 days, it could be 14 days, it could be 30 days, it could be 60 days, like, we don't know. So unless you are literally taking vacation in the middle of fire season, there's no guessing when you're coming home.
I don't know how Dave and I made it through because when we started dating, I wasn't a first responder yet. I already had my EMT, but I was in the process of getting hired on with a private company. And then I worked as an EMT, and then I got a back injury, so then I switched over into the, hospital transfer center coordinator stuff. So he knew already what it was like to have me be on, like, shift work, but we weren't living together. I was still back and forth between his place and when I was living at home. Then we moved in together when I was working as the hospital transfer center coordinator, and that was really difficult for us, really difficult transition. I mean, of me just moving in because of the boys, the whole step family dynamic, and then adding in the shift work thing was so difficult. Like, we were talking about it last night, and I'm like, "I don't even know how we made it through." I honestly don't. he does pharmaceutical sales, so he would also be gone.
Okay, tell me
Well,
how that worked with kids.
because I work nights. There's no one here at night to watch the boys, so someone else would have to come up and watch them. So then, like, my now mother-in-law and my brother-in-law would come up to help, living in my house for a week.
Yeah, and that's I mean, it's probably helpful, but it's also disruptive,
Yeah,
you
it
know?
was weird. I'm like, I love them, but it was weird having them living in my house with me for a week when he would be gone. And I felt obligated to, like, hang out and, like, be present even though they knew that I was working nights. I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna go to bed now. Sorry, I can't hang out."
Yeah.
That was really awkward for me, and I felt really bad, like, I felt like I was rude for not hanging out with them. Even though I work nights, I'm not a normal person, and I don't have a normal sleep schedule. It'd be, like, backwards, like, if someone was working days and wanted to hang out with you at night, you'd be like, "I don't wanna hang out with you at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's weird." Like, "No." But since I wasn't on that sleep schedule, I can't hang out with you at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm supposed to be sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah, and then how do you transition that into your day off?
I think I tried to just stay awake when I would get off shift and just stay awake as long as I could and
Yeah.
then crash. And so I was pretty much useless the next day trying to do anything.
Mhm.
You know, the housework, hanging out, being present even then was difficult because I was still exhausted. I don't know how anyone does shift work and doesn't go crazy. If they say they're not, they're lying.
My husband's motto was, "I'll sleep when I'm dead," and I'm like, "No, you actually need to sleep when you're alive." I don't know if you know this or not. This is why they switch them out from nights to days every 3 months, right? So that they are getting that nighttime sleep. Their circadian rhythm gets so off.
That's nice that they do that for them because mine wasn't like that.
I honestly don't know what they're doing now, but I know that at the time, he was being switched back every 3 months, and at one point, he volunteered to stay on nights because it just worked better for our family dynamics. But he was like you, he would come home on his first day off, and he would stay up as long as he possibly could, and then he'd go to bed.
Yeah.
And sometimes he'd go and take a nap for a few hours and then get back up and have dinner with us and then just go right back to bed after dinner. But he always tried to interact with the kids, and I really appreciate that about my husband. Like, it was never always on me. It's a little harder to do that when you're on strike teams for 30 days in a row, but,
Yeah.
who's talking about that? We're not talking about that. So I can
Yeah,
totally sympathize with, like, that whole not being able to sleep when you come home. It was really hard for him. We ended up doing blackout blinds, and he'd do earplugs.
I found a headband that had speakers in it, and I would play sleep sounds, and I had a sleep sound machine that would play also it sounded like the ocean inside my bedroom, and it had adaptive sound, so, like, when across the street, the gardeners would come and do yard work, I wouldn't hear the leaf blower as often. That took a long time to adjust hearing in normal life when I switched back to not doing night
Yeah,
shift and hearing it and not sending me off into, like, this spiral of just anger. Hearing
okay.
a leaf blower would be like, "Oh my god, I'm trying to sleep," and then just hearing it after not working nights anymore, I'm like, "Oh, I hate leaf blowers." It would just remind me of, like, I can't sleep.
I have the same feelings about lawnmowers
Yeah.
recording. I'm like, why do you have to mow the lawn right now? Why?"
Melatonin, and I would also take Benadryl. So when I'd wake up, I was just, like, so tired. It was the only way I could fall asleep, and you're not supposed to take Benadryl for that long, that's really bad for you. I would hear everybody who would come home next door, I'd hear them slam their car doors. When people would go in and out the front door, it would shake the bedroom. So I got really horrible sleep, which doesn't help, and that turns
No.
you even worse into, like, just cranky, stressed out.
Yeah, your body needs a reset. That's why we sleep. Somebody explained it to me like defragging your computer. So when we sleep, our brain takes all of that useless information that's all scattered all over it and it dumps it, kind of like a defragment of a computer does. It consolidates what we need and it gets rid of the rest. And so if you're not sleeping, what's happening? Like, your emotions are getting high, your brain is not functioning at full capacity.
Yeah, you're not good at what you're
Not good.
doing because you're not sleeping well. Like, I was struggling really hard at work because I wasn't getting good sleep. I was making mistakes and stuff. It was bad.
Yeah, and it was contributing to your emotional state.
Yeah, I was stressed out. I would make not a huge mistake, but, I would make small little things and they'd be like, "Well, you need to fix that and do that different." And then that would stress me out and be like, "Well, I'm not getting enough sleep." So,
Yeah.
it was a bad, bad cycle being stuck in
Yeah.
that.
Do you think that if you had been provided a place to sleep at work, that that would have been better than trying to go home?
I think so. When I worked at the ambulance company, after my 24-hour shift, I had a small space of time in between when I started my 8-hour shift. So I would drive from Marysville down to Sac, and they had an extra room, and I'd sleep in there sometimes before my next shift started, and that was helpful. But if I had a place to sleep at the dispatch center, that would be really good because then you're tired right when you get off shift instead of driving straight into the sunrise. That was really hard to go back to sleep because the sun was in my face the whole time. So
Yeah.
if I would have been able to take a nap after my shifts at work, I would have been able to go home, do some stuff, take another nap, and then go back to work later. That would have been helpful.
Okay. So this is my petition for places to sleep for dispatchers.
When you have a break, just go take a nap. Like we had a back locker room and on my break, I would go back there and try to take a nap.
How long were your breaks?
I think I had like 20-minute breaks every once in a while. I don't remember exactly how long they were. I know I was able to sometimes sleep, or if it was a night where we weren't slammed with calls, I would go back until my partner would call me back over and be like, "Hey, we're getting calls." And then I could go back over and answer the phones and stuff. I remember going into work sick because there wasn't anyone to cover shifts, so I'd be sick and tired
Yeah.
and trying to answer the phones and do work, and that was really difficult too. I feel like when there's not enough coverage, that's really difficult. Um, I know management can't always cover shifts because 'cause they've got their own stuff going on, but I feel like that would have been really beneficial to see a manager come in and cover shifts, a supervisor come in and cover shifts. That way, when you're sick, you can go home and rest and feel better the next day.
Yeah, that's a sticky wicket, especially when you're working and you feel like management is in control of the schedule too. Like, you're short staffed. Why are you short staffed? Like, why do you
Yeah.
continue to understaff your center? What is
Mhm.
it? And is it solvable? Like, if you can solve the problem, just solve it.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the solution is when we have a national reduction in the amount of people who want to work in that field.
I mean, you get stuck in the system because you wanna help people, you wanna do that line of work, and then you get a really good job with whatever agency, and you're trained at it, good at it, and then someone leaves, and then you're stuck filling in those gaps. I've seen it when we go visit certain places. I've seen it, and it sucks for them. There needs to be more people doing this work, but obviously it's difficult. Not everyone wants to do it or can do it or should do it. I know I don't ever wanna do it again. Nobody wants to work in education either because it's just as bad.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but we got to make some kind of new big shift. I think it's a societal issue more than it is anything. Like, how do we attract people into careers that they have to be selfless if nobody wants to be selfless?
Teaching though, you're so micromanaged by everybody who's higher up, and it's people who don't even work in the classroom anymore, like school board members and stuff. Like, why are these people controlling what's happening in our classrooms? They don't even substitute. They have no idea what's happening, and then hi, Tanner. He's all, "It's okay, mom." Um, they don't know what's happening, and they make all these different changes, and then you're expected to implement them within a school year, and then they change it again the next year, and the next year, and the next year. There's no consistency, and they don't trust you, and the process of becoming a teacher is difficult too. I have my credential, and it expired because I wasn't able to clear it through a district. Nobody wanted to hire new teachers during COVID, so it expired. I'm like, "Okay, that's great. I went to school for that."
Sure.
I have a master's degree that I don't use um, and
Yeah.
a credential that expired, and that was expensive, but the process of becoming a teacher, you do your student teaching, and then you have to do it again, the whole similar process when you get hired on with a district. You have a mentor teacher, and then you prove to them that you can do it again. submit these videos of you teaching and take all these different tests, and it's expensive. The county office that I work at now, they have a residency program where they pay you to go through, but I went through their first one and they didn't pay you to go through it. I had to pay for it myself.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that's how anything works. And the bigger issue is, okay, now you have all these overworked teachers that don't even have a say in their own curriculum. And then on top of that, they can't get a day off or they can't be sick because we have no subs.
Yeah, if I was sick, nobody would be there to watch the kids before and after school. So then the parents, a lot of them are first responders, work in healthcare. They would have to figure out someone to watch their kids if my site was closed.
Yeah.
So then I
That's
feel like I have to come to work sick. Like last year, I bought a bullhorn because I couldn't talk. I had no voice. I had a bullhorn. I'm whispering into the bullhorn so the kids could hear me because no one was there to cover my shift. And I'm like, if I'm not there, then who's going to watch these kids? There's like 50 kids. Who's going to watch them? Like, I can't do that to these families, but then I can't do that to myself either. I'm like, that's not fair to me. But I also don't want to leave these families high and dry, try to
that's such
figure
a
out
hard choice to make.
someone to watch their kids.
One of my kids came home really early in the school year and there were like, dude, they had 4 different classrooms in the library under under the supervision of the principal because they had no subs,
What?
and these teachers got sick and they couldn't come to work.
Oh, no.
So the principal is trying to coordinate 4 classes in the library of a school. I would have just called the parents and said, "Come pick up your kids." Like, this
Yeah.
is why are you even this is an emergent of epic emergency proportions at this point.
Yeah, everyone needs to go home, it's not safe. You don't have enough adults to watch all the kids, that's
I
not
mean, they're
safe.
teenagers, so it's not like they're gonna go, do some they're not
Yeah.
5-year-olds, they're 15-year-olds, but at the same time, it's like,
Yeah.
that doesn't seem like it's gonna be a learning situation. Nobody's
No,
learning anything today. What is the point of keeping them there? I just thought it was very interesting,
they
and it
probably kept him there because they didn't know what you guys would do, like, how are we
well,
gonna
I
get all
think
these
it's
kids
also like they lose
home?
the ADA money for the day, so they're not gonna close the school down. I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
get that too, but it's like, this doesn't seem good, and so I started, like, looking at why would there need to be a principal doing this, and it's literally they have no subs to call.
Yeah, there's no substitutes for my job really, and then there's no substitutes for classroom jobs either. I had substituted for high school and middle school, and it was rough. And it's a society thing. It has nothing to do with the kids. I love kids. Kids are great. Teaching's great. It's a great profession. When you're substituting, it's really hard because the kids don't know you, they don't respect you, and it's difficult. And you couldn't pay me enough every day to go into schools where they treat you like that. I've been in a class before where they've done that, and I'm like, I'm never subbing here again.
And that's really, like, it's a societal issue, it's a system issue in both realms of the universe, in both teaching and in EMS. We have
Yeah,
got to figure out how to fix our issues so that people aren't burning out, so that
yeah,
we have people coming in that can relieve us when we need to be relieved. And so that really, like, on my end, like, the family gets relief.
yeah. I see a lot of overlap with teaching and first responder mental health. Like teachers will come home at the end of the day, myself included, and I'm burned out. I'm done. I can't give the same amount of attention that I want to give to my family that I have given all day long to my kids. And the same thing with first responders. They give everything that they can for their whole shift to their patients, to their partners at work, to the community. And then they come home and what do they have left for you?
It's much.
Yeah. Nothing. A little bit, but it's not the same.
Right, in the first responders' defense, they know what their capacity is. So, I have to figure out, okay, is my husband at, 15% capacity or is he at 100% capacity? And then I have to figure out how I'm gonna make up for the, if it's 25% capacity, let's just for easy math, I have to make up that other 75%.
Yeah,
But I've been operating at 25% for 4 days. So
yeah.
everybody's tired. We're all burnt out. There's gotta be some kind of middle somewhere. our society needs to be turning out more compassionate people so we have people
Yeah.
wanting to go into these jobs.
Oh, like how we do jury duty. Make people do substitute
Absolutely.
teaching.
Substitute teaching and substitute EMS. I love
Yeah.
that. Temp
They
workers
just
that wanna be a
yeah,
paramedic.
they just drive the ambulance. They don't have to do the patient care because that you have to do a lot of training for that. But driving the ambulance, that's not super difficult. But they still have to be around the patients and do that stuff and see it and be involved in it. Uh, Substitute call takers, you answer the call and you type out stuff.
Ever answered a phone, come to jury duty. No.
Yeah, right? If you've ever answered a phone, you are now called in to work 911 today
Oh my goodness, no.
for this week.
That would be a disaster waiting
It
to
would be
happen.
horrible. But
Like,
they should do it for
substitute substitute teachers, though, I feel like it might not be too hard to do that
that they
because
should definitely do it for substitute teachers. If you graduated from high school, you can substitute.
yeah, like, why do they make it so difficult too? Like, why do I have to have a freaking bachelor's degree to be a substitute? Make it
I
make
don't know.
sense.
Yeah.
Make it make sense. What am I doing? I'm not teaching you some subject matter. I'm watching the class for a day,
Yeah.
and you can literally hand me the curriculum.
Yeah, you get a sub plan if whoever you're subbing for is really good and they'll go over what you need.
So why do
Like
I need to
they
have a
type it out.
bachelor's
I don't know.
Why do I need to have a bachelor's degree to follow simple instructions? I hope I learned that in high school. I don't understand why they make it so freaking hard.
High school should prep you for basic math and English. That should be a high school diploma, I think. But maybe because they've lowered standards, it's different. And now you have to have a college degree to prove that you know how to do things. I don't know.
I hope they haven't. I mean, A through G requirements are pretty I mean, I think my kids have gone through the ringer for school. So, I mean, they're still having to do algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2. I mean, I can't imagine that if you're subbing for a 5-year-old, you need all of those math skills,
No, you
right?
shouldn't.
Like, maybe
I
if
mean,
you're maybe if you're subbing for, like, the high school level, maybe you should have a little bit more on the ball in the realm of that
yeah,
stuff. But feel like if we made it a little easier to do, people might be more willing to do it.
yeah.
And especially if you have a bachelor's degree, you don't wanna be working for, like, $50 a day
No,
when you could go work for, like, $200 a day somewhere else.
it doesn't make sense. I know a lot of people that would probably have an AA that would love to substitute teach, but they can't.
Yeah, I think it would be a great thing if you're going through a bachelor's program to kind of help supplement to pay for college. If you could
Hmm.
go sub when you're not working. I'm available
Yeah,
these days, and subs are needed everywhere. I mean, it's not, you know. I just recently learned that they have substitutes for front office staff in schools. I didn't know that. And we can't even get subs for that.
I was a substitute yard duty for high school kids for a while,
I love
filling in spaces because I didn't have enough in my week to get to pay stuff off. So I was substituting as a paraprofessional in the classroom where they had all the kids that were suspended. I get the detention kids at lunch. Um, I actually did that for a little bit part time before I got my credential and stuff.
well,
And
literally anybody can sit in a classroom and like make sure nobody leaves. Like that's pretty
yeah,
easy.
it depends on who's in there. Some of the kids were pretty crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, you're not teaching anything. You're
You just have to have really thick skin
yeah,
because
whatever
they'll
works.
say things that are mean, and you have to be like, "Well,
That's
okay,
nice that you think that.
yeah,
Yeah.
good for you."
Teenagers are mean in general. I can't even imagine the ones that are getting detention. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I just recently found out that we are at a shortage for every kind of substitute imaginable, actually. Substitute bus drivers.
Oh, yeah.
We cannot get people to want to be a bus driver.
I was talking to someone about that the other day.
My dad actually tried to become a bus driver, gosh, 10, 15 years ago. And he drove logging truck for a living for a little while. Mm. And he couldn't even pass the bus driver test.
Oh my
He said they make it so incredibly difficult. So incredibly difficult. I'm like, just make it easier.
yeah.
Like, I get you have a bunch of students and you're literally carrying precious cargo and there should be rules and regulations about that. But why does the testing and the qualifications have to be so difficult that nobody can do it? Like, if you can drive a logging truck, you can drive a bus.
Yeah,
Like, that's my personal feeling about it.
I I feel like that's totally fine.
I don't get why it has to be so hard.
I can't drive a logging truck, and I would definitely prefer someone who could drive a semi truck to drive a school bus. Like, "Oh, you
I
really know
would
what
be
you're doing."
I would be terrified to drive a logging truck. I don't even
Yeah,
like driving my husband's Dodge Ram 2500 because it's so big. I can't even imagine a logging truck. I can't imagine a full school bus full of kids. But if we're at a shortage, there's got to be a way to bring that shortage up to at least like 50% capacity. Like, come on.
yeah.
Okay. Well, we got off on a really, really long bunny trail, but that's okay. So, if you could go back and tell yourself one thing during that time, what would it be?
You're gonna get through it. There were times where I was like, "I don't even know if I'm gonna get through this." There were really hard shifts where I was just like, "I don't wanna do this anymore." I'd be driving to work and I'd be like, "What if I just didn't make it into work today? I wouldn't have to deal with this anymore." And that was really weird to think that I was thinking that, and that's when I knew that I needed to do something different and get myself out of that situation. But if I could tell myself, "You're gonna get through this," when I was thinking that, I feel like I would have felt better rather than just like, "Okay, well, this is just what you're doing right now, and, just keep doing it."
Enter Maisie.
We had Junior, I don't know if you can see him up there. He's right
Aw.
there on the wall. He was the best. He's a lab hound mix, and he would sleep upstairs with me during my shifts. Um, he was my therapy dog. I didn't have a dog before him, and he got me and Dave through everything. We were just so stressed out about so many different things, like personally, and then with work and with the boys and stuff. And he got us through so much stuff. He would have been a great therapy dog too. He was just so sweet.
Well, he was. He just didn't know it.
He was my therapy dog, and I didn't even know it. Yeah. Um, the way he made me feel when I would come home was instant relief. I would be at work and I'd be like, I just want to go home and see my dog. So now I bring Maisie to work so people can see her.
Tell me how to reach you and Maisie so that somebody else can have a dog come to work.
So they can reach us either through First Responder Therapy Dog's website, or they can reach me Maisie the Kelpie if they want to reach out for any Northern California visits, like El Dorado County, Sacramento area. Otherwise, you can reach out to First Responder Therapy Dogs for a visit. We have dogs in almost every state. I think there's like 4 other states we don't have dogs in, but we have almost 500 teams across the United States. So pretty much anywhere you're at, except for like the 4 states that we're not in, we have teams available to help you and your agency.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you so much for telling me your story and about Maisie and this wonderful conversation.
You're welcome. It was really fun. Thanks for having us on and looking forward to doing it again.